I think the first thing is to distinguish between what's an accident and a crisis. For him, an accident is something we know what's going to happen, and we know it happens once in a while. We know what to do when it does happen, and we're kind of ready for it, even if it's tremendously tragic, like an airplane crash or something. A crisis is different in that we really don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen, and we're not really sure what we should do. And there's really very little roadmap to guide our steps forward. Challenge really is, how do we keep our people safe with imperfect information? But how do we do so in a way which doesn't shut down the world? Because if the right answer to keep people safe is to send everybody home, and if every business leader sends everybody home, we will create an economic calamity which is far worse than the virus could ever be. That's really the kind of conundrum of this whole thing. To come up with new ideas which can help you as a business leader achieve the mission of the institution or the organization you work for. Keep people safe, but keep the lights on. And specifically, it's really about maintaining a certain degree of cash flow to avoid calamity. Now, in that context of all that, there's clearly a supply chain issue, which is where are the stuff we use for our products and services coming from. You will have supply chain interruptions. How long they'll be is something to actually dig into, and drilling into your supply chain, understanding where your risks are at your suppliers, at their suppliers, and all the way down to raw materials. Schneider Electric, they have 2 sources of supply for everything they buy. A big factory in China and a little one somewhere else. So they're ready for a disruption coming from China, even though they were not planning on a coronavirus, but they are resilient enough to withstand it. So I think this is sensible. Taking steps to protect frontline workers. If that means giving them masks, does that mean putting small plexiglass barriers, putting in a hotline with someone who knows what they're doing to ask 3 or 4 questions? Are the frontline people safe? If someone gets sick on the front line, will they call in sick, or do they not get paid if they get sick? In which case, maybe you need to relax your sick leave policy so people who are ill can feel they don't have to come to work. And to me, these are the kinds of things that companies can come up with. In the middle of this situation, it's about flexibility, adaptability, creative thinking, and moving quickly. Getting ready for the next situation, it's about scenario planning and really building resilience into the fundamental business model, which might mean going away from this hyper lean, hyper efficient model that we've had in our head for the last 20 years. Preparedness, or even resilience, is about building into the organization and into its systems and processes and decisions enough strength to withstand stuff that we know is going to happen sooner or later. The World Health Organization ran, the guys who know about this stuff have been expecting one of these for a while. Business leaders typically don't think about the unexpected. And I think that's something that has to happen from very senior management or even the board, to say, we are worried about these risks, please mitigate them in your daily work. Which is different than saying we are worried about making the maximum amount of money or the best return for our shareholders. As business leaders think about the future, they normally only think about everything being fine. Being fine in the sense there might be more or less economic growth. There might be, maybe one party or another would win the election, but fundamentally, business as usual is the only future that we consider. In real life, things happen. There are problems between countries, there are problems within countries, civil wars, economic sanctions against one country because someone doesn't like what they're doing. So this virus, I think, is a perfect example of kind of the expected unexpected. This is probably not the last virus we're going to see in our lifetimes or our professional careers. So one of the issues is what can we learn from this crisis for the next time?